Hey guys, going to start with a quick side note. I use some colorful language in this video, but because I think this video has a super important message, there's a link in the description to a more PG version. I feel like when I was growing up, there were things that adults knew to talk to us about, and once they did, those topics kind of got crossed off a list. How are babies made? What happens when someone dies? And why do some people root for teams they have no personal or geographic connection with? Son, it's because they're losers. My parents were always pumped to talk about sex. What do you want to know, son? We've got answers. That said, my folks never felt the need to sit me down and say, Nils, I want to talk to you about consent. And I know they weren't alone in this. I also never had a class about consent, and I really can't remember it ever being explained to me. I think the biggest reason why we don't talk about sexual consent is because it's mostly common sense. So it seems a little ridiculous to suggest that you or someone else might need to talk about it, but we clearly do need to talk about it. So I read about it, and now I want to share with you guys what I learned. I'm doing this to better understand consent myself, to help other people get it, and most significantly, for the people who are getting hurt because we aren't talking about consent. Here's the rundown. Let's go. First, we are not going to talk about the legal definition of consent. And that's because laws around consent vary state by state, and honestly, they're not even that great, which is part of the reason why only 6% of rapists ever spend a day in jail. So instead of learning how to not get arrested, we're going to focus on how to not be a piece of shit. Don't worry though, the how to not be a piece of shit approach is a higher standard. It's the kind of standard we'd want any guy to have who's dating our sister or mom or daughter or friend. And frankly, it's the kind of standard we'd want to have for ourselves if we don't aspire to be pieces of shit. Also, I'm going to talk about consent in the context of a man getting consent from a woman. I'm doing that because that's the lens I have for this, but obviously everything in this video applies to all people. All right, let's start, finally, by getting the quick, beautiful, common sense, broad definition of consent out of the way, and that is that consent is the agreement to participate in a sexual activity. So yeah, pretty straightforward, although worth pointing out that consent does not just relate to P in the V sex. It's sexual activity, so it can also be touching, kissing, BJs, cunnilingus, butt stuff, rusty trombone. All of the things that are sexual need to be in an agreement to participate. Now, before we talk about different scenarios and what we can do to make sure we have consent, I want to make something clear. Because I can already hear some smartass saying something like, oh wow, guess I need a fancy spreadsheet to know if it's okay to get laid, bro. The thing is, everything we need to know about consent is under this one umbrella of, is this person genuinely enthusiastic about having sex with me? And by that I mean, are they enthusiastic before the sex, throughout the sex, and will they be glad tomorrow we did the sex? And that tomorrow bit is especially important if she's been drinking, which we'll talk more about. So yeah, spoiler alert, this entire video is about making sure we're having mutually enthusiastic sex. And yes, it is on us to know that that's the case, and yes, we are a piece of shit if it's not, but we keep going. All right, now that we know what consent is, let's talk about who we need consent from. We need consent from everyone we want to do sexual stuff with. And we could leave it at that, and that would be a very safe, cover your ass way to define it, and it would make for a shorter, simpler video. But the thing is, we are getting consent wrong because some horny ass dudes love to use some yeah but justification. So let's just go ahead and clear those yeah buts up right now. These are my horny ass dude sunglasses, by the way. All right, remember, we need consent from everyone. Yeah, but what if I'm with someone I've had sex with before? Doesn't matter. People can always change their mind. Yeah, but what if I haven't had sex in a long time and I really need it? Doesn't matter. Yeah, but what if I have sex all the time, so of course this person will also want to have sex with me? Does not matter. Yeah, but what if I'm not feeling great about myself and hoping that sex will be a superficial stamp of approval, I need to not feel like a loser? Does not matter. But it's my girlfriend. Does not matter. But it's my wife. Does not matter. But it's my birthday. Nope. Still doesn't matter, but happy birthday, horny ass dude. Thanks. Okay, I think we get the point. Nobody owes us sex. And if we've been thinking anyone does, now is the time to reprogram our brains so we avoid doing something that makes us a piece of shit. So we know that every sexual activity requires consent, and that we need it from every person we want to do those things with. Now it's a matter of knowing if we have consent. How do we know? I have a friend who's a big dude. We'll call him Rob. Rob is about 6'4", not a twig, and he recently told me a story about how he was getting a massage from a professional female massage therapist. Rob told me he was laying on his back on the table in nothing but boxers and a towel, and the massage therapist started massaging higher and higher up Rob's leg, which is fine, but she got so high that her hand brushed his nutsack twice. He said he wanted to say something like, "Hey, please stop touching my nutsack, that's making me uncomfortable." But 6'4" Rob was just frozen, like deep breath in and not exhaling frozen. The woman didn't try anything after that, so it was maybe just an accident and Rob is okay now, but I think it's good for us to hear stories like that because a common mistake is us thinking that not hearing a no right away is the same as receiving consent, and that is absolutely not true. Because if we do something that makes a woman uncomfortable, it might make her so uncomfortable that she's frozen, and that's really important for us to be aware of. Now, with that said, we don't necessarily have to treat our partner like she's sitting in emergency exit row of an airplane and require an audible yes from her before we can take off, especially if we've hooked up with them before, we're sober, and her interest is obvious. But if there is any doubt in our honest mind about her enthusiasm in taking the next step, whatever that next step is, an out loud yes from her is the best way for us to know we've got the green light and we're not about to do something that makes us a piece of shit. And it only takes 3 words. Is this okay? Simple, easy, direct. And we can even say it in a romantic, dare I say, sexy way. Getting a yes from someone is pretty great because 1, we're making sure we're not a piece of shit, and 2, you're getting someone to say out loud they want to have sex with you. You might even ask knowing the answer is yes just because it sounds neat. Obviously, if she answers with no, we stop. And if she says yes, we can keep on keeping on. But if it's something in the middle, she hems and haws or she hesitates, that is not an enthusiastic yes and we should stop. That is when we should throw out a, hey, we don't have to. Give her an out. Let her know it's cool to not hook up and see how she responds. If she takes the out, that's a good thing because that is not a person we should want to be having sex with or whatever it is we're hoping to do. Again, the goal here is to have mutually enthusiastic sex. And if it's not there, we have to dial it back and chill the f out. Now, let's say we've got the consent green light and we're engaging in sexual activity. Obviously, the situation is going to change and evolve as we roll around. As this happens, we should have a consent dar on. It's like consent and radar combined. Consent dar. Meaning if we get any inklings that she's not feeling great about what we're doing, we need to check in. And we check in by asking her, is this okay? Are you good? Do you want to do something else? No, this won't kill the moment. If anything, it'll open the door for her to tell us what she wants, helping us be better at the sex, and she'll think of us as someone who's thoughtful in the sack. And that will also not turn her off. The incentives are aligned here. Learning what she wants keeps us from being a piece of shit, and it makes us better at sex. This video is not bad news. Side note, everything I'm about to say applies to drugs and alcohol, even though I just refer to it as drinking. So if our partner has been drinking, our goal is not only to know that her answer is yes now and during sex, or whatever it is we're trying to do, but also that she's sober enough to make a decision she won't regret the next day. And I know that might sound odd to hear, and that's because our culture around drinking and sex is fucked up right now. But we shouldn't see someone who is drunk and think, well, here's my chance to have some sex. Even if she says yes, we have to feel it's a yes she won't regret. And if we're not sure, we should stop. Obviously, if we've hooked up with this person before, we can feel more comfortable making this determination. But if it's our first time with someone, and she's been drinking, and she's not able to clearly and thoughtfully communicate that she's down to get down, then we can't. We should go to sleep, wake up in the morning, brush our teeth because our breath smells like dog shit, let her wake up, offer her some ibuprofen, maybe some OJ, maybe some mouthwash because her breath probably smells like dog shit too, and maybe then she'll be down to have sex. If so, great. Morning sex is neat. Some people say it's the second best way to start the day. And if she doesn't want to have sex in the morning, we can be like, thank God I didn't have sex with this woman last night because she probably would have regretted it today, and I would be a piece of shit for taking advantage of her. I know this approach to consent requires us to make judgment calls, and life is easier with simple rules. But just think of it like this. You're walking down a beach and the water is sex she regrets and land is sex she doesn't regret. Is it hard to draw the exact line where water becomes land? Yeah, but you can easily tell when you're standing on land, so we should just stay out of the fucking water. One more thing, and this feels weird to say out loud, but I'd rather say it and feel weird than not say it at all. And that is that it's not okay to do anything sexual with someone who is asleep or passed out. If someone is unconscious, do everyone on the planet a favor, including yourself and the conscience you're stuck with for the rest of your life, and leave them alone. All right, so we know what consent is, we know who we need it from, we know how to make sure we have it, and we know how to approach a hookup when drugs and or alcohol are involved. This mutually enthusiastic two to tango approach to sex is very different than how many of our other wants are satisfied by the tap of a button on our phone. And we can look at that as a bad thing, or we can look at that as what makes sex so different and in a very cool way. We have a long way to go to change our culture around how we think about sex. But I would encourage all of us to take small opportunities to call someone out if what they have said or done sounds messed up. Sure, it's an awkward conversation in the short run, but in the long run, you and everyone else in the world will be glad you spoke out. Like I said in the beginning, this isn't always a lesson taught by schools or adults, so don't hesitate to be a resource for others, especially young people. I guess one last thing I'd add is that it's never too late to apologize for crossing the line or taking advantage of someone in the past. It'll mean a lot to that person, but you will also feel better that you acknowledged your bullshit and took a step towards making it right. All right, please comment below with anything important you think I left out or got wrong. I'll be sharing some of that feedback in a follow-up video next week. To make sure you see that follow-up video and other explainers from me, please like my page on Facebook and or subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thanks, guys. My dad has actually never had a mustache.